And we're just waiting for everyone to join. So please be patient. Thanks.
Okay, I hope I'm on now.
You are, and we are live.
I was on mute before, so thank you.
Okay. I believe we are live. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to remind you to mute your microphone if you wish while you're not talking. Like to say welcome to our viewers this evening. My name is Jean Durbin, president of the Pcdo. This is our annual candidate forum with our very first virtual vote, candidate endorsement vote. We're so happy to have you here with us this evening. Our local candidates are here: Mark Frieda for mayor, Dina Shaw for council, David Cohen for council, and Leticia Fraga for council. And our MC this evening is Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker. Thanks for being here. These are extraordinary times, but it's kind of an exciting night for us to test this technology. Huge thank you to the executive board of the Pcdo, as well as Bill Schofield, who's really the architect of this adventure that we're having, helping us figure out the ins and outs of the technology. So thanks so much, Bill. And thanks to the candidates for their patience, and to you, the members, for your patience and indulging in all of the tests that we did to make sure you got your virtual ballot. You will get your virtual ballot later this evening. They'll launch sometime around 6 p.m. The format for this evening is opening statements from all four candidates to last 2 minutes. We will then launch into questions for our council candidates only in the interest of time. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer their question, and closing statements will be 3 minutes. Again, in the interest of time, we'll hear from Mark Frieda, candidate for mayor, only once in the beginning of the forum. Thanks for your questions that you've emailed to forum@princetondems.org. And if you have any trouble this evening with technology, if you didn't get your virtual ballot by 6:10, 6:15, please email help@princetondems.org. Assemblyman Zwicker, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, everybody. As you said, this is really an extraordinary time that we are in right now. And the challenges that we all face personally and professionally are really remarkable. I'm so grateful to everybody in all of our communities who have really stepped up to make sure that we do everything we can to protect the health and safety of our communities. I also want to give a special shout out to all of our first responders, all of our volunteers, all of our healthcare workers, sanitation workers. It is just truly extraordinary. As you said, Jean, I also want to be tremendously thoughtful and grateful to you, the executive board, for in a short period of time responding and figuring out what we need to do to ensure that we can proceed. I'm very thankful to have a chance to moderate. To our candidates, as you said, we are going to use technology to the best of our ability as this unfolds over the course of the next hour or so. And to everybody who's watching at home, last thing I'll say, of course, is please be safe, take care of your loved ones, your families, and your neighbors. And with that, tonight is about the future of our community, is the future and the vision that each of these candidates has for Princeton moving forward. So I'd like to begin, and we'll start with an opening statement by our candidate for mayor, Mark Frieda.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, everyone. A big thank you to all involved in making this virtual Pcdo endorsement meeting happen. Thank you for all your time and effort to make this a reality. To all of you watching tonight, thank you for taking the time to stay involved in our local democratic process. We are having this virtual meeting due to the critical nature of the coronavirus outbreak. I know firsthand that our town staff are working hard to protect you, to keep you safe, and to keep you up to date. Please see the regular updates by our health officer on the town website and visit the CDC website for accurate information. A quick thank you to those of you that have helped me with my campaign so far. I would like to take this opportunity to talk to all of you by building on the detail I have previously shared with you, either in person, through my website, etc. Though the questions being sent in later tonight are only for the council candidates, anyone that has a question for me, feel free to email me at any point. The email to use is mark@, and this is one word, markfridaformayor.com. mark@markfridaformayor.com. Send me your questions. Happy to answer them. Happy to meet with anyone one-on-one, just no big group meetings. My statements on the website and other places have highlighted my past government and nonprofit experience here in town. Born here, raised here. I have lived here all my life. And I have supported and participated in many civic and nonprofit organizations consistently since I was 18. And I have many years of local government experience. But for right now, there are two questions I've been asked a number of times that I want to address during these opening remarks. First, I have been asked, is there a conflict of interest between my full-time job as the paid president, a staff position, with the Princeton First Aid and Rescue Squad, and being mayor? Prior to launching my campaign, I gave this matter serious consideration, but I do not think that job poses a conflict. The squad is an independent nonprofit that does not receive any taxpayer money from the town. My role with the squad is as a paid staff member, and the squad's board of trustees have named me president. It is important to notice the difference between the board of trustees of the squad and the squad as an organization. I am not the president of the nonprofit board. I am the president of the organization under the board. The squad is non-political, and I need to stress this. It takes no position on political campaigns. It is taking no position on my political campaign. The fact that I work there in no way implies or indicates that the squad is supporting my campaign or any political campaign. They do not get involved in politics. Again, I just happen to work there. I'd also like to be clear that if at any point in the future there was an actual conflict of interest or a perceived conflict of interest between something involving the first aid squad and the council, I would seek advice from the town attorney. And if I needed to recuse myself, of course I would. So anyway, thank you for letting me clear that one up. Hopefully I've cleared that one up. The other question I've gotten a number of times is, what did I do in my prior professional life before my current role with the first aid squad? My field is facilities management. A lot of people ask me, what is that about? That is really delivering day-to-day services that a corporation needs to run, corporate property and casualty insurance programs, expense management programs, business continuity planning, things like that. The second area is large-scale renovation and ground-up renovation projects, ranging in value from a few $1 million each to tens of millions of dollars each. The scope of all these projects was creating a common end goal, working with all impacted stakeholders, creating a project team to achieve it, creating the budget to make it happen, and then staying within a budget and within a schedule. I know I'm running a little over the 2 minutes, but since I'm only talking once, Gene assured me I got an extra minute or so here. So anyway, let me wrap up and then everybody else gets a chance to go. My track record with these projects has proven consistent delivery of projects within budget and on time. This can only be achieved with the right leadership, experience, and knowledge, all of which I bring to the table if I am elected mayor. My corporate, government, nonprofit, and civic experience and knowledge will allow me to hit the ground running as mayor. I will be able to utilize this expertise in almost every aspect of the municipal operations on day one. I believe that serving as mayor will require hard work and a commitment to openness, honesty, and transparency. I'd like to share information, involve people, and make informed decisions. I will get things done. I will lead by example. I believe in listening to all of you. I realize that I am not an expert on everything, and I will certainly reach out to experts as needed. Will we always agree? No. But will I always listen to you? Yes. My job is to make sure every viewpoint is considered, and I will make sure every viewpoint is considered. We have many challenges coming up. I have the energy, the motivation, and the desire to make to work on these challenges with you. Let me work for you. I respectfully ask that you vote to endorse me tonight, and please turn out to vote for me and all our fellow Democrats at the primary on June 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to opening statements from our candidates for council. We've agreed this will happen in alphabetical order before we move on to questions, where we will also go in alphabetical order and rotate ourselves through for each question. So we'll begin with opening statements. First one is from David Cohen. David, your microphone, you need to unmute your microphone, David.
Thanks for the reminder. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about in my opening statement is actually to help people understand my background before I got on council, going all the way back to when we first moved to Princeton in 1987. I was a young architect working at CUH2A, a big architecture and engineering firm located out on Route 1. And subsequently went to work for a firm called Michael Landau Associates, which specialized in office interiors and religious architecture. I think this is really relevant to my service on council because one of the specialties was synagogue architecture, where we were working with committees to make decisions. And as I like to say, if you get in a room with 2 Jews, you have at least 3 opinions. So that's very apropos to working in public life in Princeton, I've found. But it really helped me develop the ability to listen well, to communicate clearly, and to help to build consensus, which is so important when you're on council. I first started working for Princeton's municipal government as a volunteer about 12 years ago on the Bicycle Advisory Committee. It was actually at the time the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee. And it was a great way to get my feet wet in learning how municipal government works. And I will say towards the end of the period before I came on council, still working on the Bicycle Advisory Committee, I was really crucially or critically involved in getting the bicycle mobility plan adopted for town. And that was also a real learning experience for me, because I learned how important it is to delve into the written matter that you're given, to read through the ordinances in detail and be able to comment on them intelligently to get the kind of policy in place that you want. About 6 years after I started on the Bicycle Advisory Committee, I joined the planning board and have been super involved with that ever since, even having come on council. And that has really used my architectural knowledge as well as my technical understanding of site engineering and so on and so forth. So,
Sorry, David, that's time.
all right.
Thank you, Jean. Next, we'll hear from Leticia Fraga with an opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman Zwicker. I also want to thank the PCDO leadership, especially Jean Durbin and Bill Schofield, for thinking creatively and making it possible for us to be able to participate in this democratic process virtually, given that we are not able to do so in person. I also want to thank everyone who is joining us remotely. I have served our community for almost 20 years, first as a volunteer and now as a public servant. And quite honestly, growing up, serving in elected office was not something that I ever aspired to do. But having served on Princeton Council for the past 2 years has not only been a privilege, but something that I soon realized that this is what life had prepared me for me to do all along. From the day that my parents brought our family to this country 40 years ago, I learned about the importance of helping others. And also the values that my parents instilled in me was that we should all make a significant and positive impact in our community. Those who know me know that before coming to Princeton, 20 years ago, I had a fulfilling career in Seattle, working for the Office of Civil Rights Enforcement. But not everyone may be as familiar with my work prior to that. In the late 1980s, I lived in Germany, and I worked for the US Army's Department of Personnel and Community Activities. My job at that time was to ensure that the needs of the families were being met when their soldier spouse and parent was being deployed to the Persian Gulf. I have also worked for the Department of Energy subcontractor. My job was to oversee the minority and women-owned small business contract set-asides. I understood then, as I do now, the importance of creating opportunities for those who may be at a disadvantage. Also, as a fair housing specialist, I conducted training sessions for the Department of Housing and Urban Development for both realtor and tenants regarding their rights and responsibilities under the fair housing laws. The experience taught me the importance of ensuring we all understand not only our rights, but also our responsibilities. The past 2 decades that I have been working to address the needs of our community.
Sorry, that's time.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, an opening statement from Dina Shaw.
Hello, my name is Dina Shaw. My family and I have lived in Princeton for 17 wonderful years. I've raised my children here, built a successful business here, and made significant contributions to our community through leadership roles at Littlebrook and John Witherspoon Middle School's PTO, the board of the Friends of Princeton Public Library, the Economic Development Committee, Moms Demand Action, the Jewish Center of Princeton, and the PCDO. I am running for Princeton Council to bring greater transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility to our town. I'm a staunch advocate of our public schools and plan to drive efficiencies in budget management, economic development, and partnerships with Princeton University, Mercer County, and the state of New Jersey. Most critically, I see a gap between the issues most important to our residents today and work being done by the council. Transparency is key. We are in the throes of the greatest public health crisis in recent history. Our community's connection to COVID or coronavirus was first reported on February 2nd. But it took until Friday, March 13th, till we finally had a press conference where our mayor declared a state of emergency. In the interim, we've been searching for information, weighing risks, seeking guidance from leadership. Princeton Council is an essential component of this clear communication. Can we honestly say that we have been well informed? And do we want this leadership to continue? I represent an alternative. We have, as far as fiscal responsibility, we have one of the highest tax bases per capita in the state. Why can't we self-fund standard upkeep infrastructure without a tax increase, or work with our partners like Princeton University to help us with our infrastructure? Our sewer system is outdated, our roads are rutted, and there are many streets with no lights. And we all fear losing power when a stiff wind blows. A longtime supporter of affordable housing, employees, and teachers who keep our town running should be able to afford to live here. Now that our town has struck a deal with developers, can we be sure that the plan will not add to the overcrowding in our schools or require yet another tax increase? Residents of Princeton deserve to know the answers to these questions. Transparency is key. We need to look 10 years out and start planning now and think about how we want Princeton to look and how we want to get there. I can do that. I have a proven track record of getting things done as a professional and as a volunteer. We all agree that Princeton is a very special community. To keep our unique quality of life, we must have professional and effective management. The priorities of our residents must be addressed in a comprehensive and transparent manner. I welcome your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you to all three of you. We're going to move on to questions in alphabetical order again. Since David had the opening statement, Letitia, will start with you, move through each of the candidates so they each have a chance to answer the question. These are all submitted ahead of time, and this is the first question. What is your position about how Princeton is growing? Should we be attempting to slow the growth? How do we balance growth with neighborhood character and quality of life? Letitia, your microphone.
I have to remember to mute and unmute as needed. So I do have a position on that. I think that it's a given that we are going to continue to grow. It's not, there's no getting away from that. But the importance is how we do so. I know as my colleague on council, David Cohen, likes to refer to as smart growth, and I completely agree with that. And for me, that means ensuring that as we grow, that we look at how it impacts our neighborhood, but also that we have at every opportunity, each time that we're considering development, that we have input from our neighborhoods, from our neighbors, our business community, and everyone that's going to be impacted by that growth. Also, any new development, we need to ensure that the developers are also providing for our community, whether that be transportation or programs that are going to be made available to our community to make the quality of life for all of our residents to be an improvement anytime that we're looking at growth.
Thank you. Next, the same question goes to Dina Shaw.
So I welcome the growth that we have coming. I think it's going to be wonderful and provide homes for people who are not just in affordable housing, but hopefully built into our plan is something for what I call the missing middle. Because in the plans that I've seen, I'm not 100% sure that they're in there, but we really need to think about that. And as far as the neighborhoods go and the communities, we are going to see a lot of change. It's why I think that it's important that you bring somebody like me onto council who does that, who knows how to plan, who knows how to lay things out, who has a proven track record of doing so. I will sit down, we can take a look at the plans that we have. Transportation is part of it, but the economics are very important to it as well. And I do have some questions about some of the votes that have been taken on council up until this point. And I would like to understand them better because we have to think about all of the residents of Princeton as this growth happens. And I do believe transportation is part of that. I don't know if we can ask developers to do that, but I think that we as a community can work with that and we can work with our partners as in terms of the university, the county, and the state to build, to keep our town the way that we have it now. Thank you.
Thank you. And then finally, the same question to David Cohen.
Thanks, Andrew. So my definition for smart growth is, in 25 words or less, is basically putting your development where you already have development. And that has several benefits. There are benefits for sustainability, because if you're rebuilding in areas that are already built up, you're efficiently using existing infrastructure. You're creating walkable, bikeable neighborhoods that can also support transit, which can allow you to grow without adding to the traffic in town. So there are these sustainability benefits, but there are also economic development benefits. You know, basically you get the stimulus of having the construction associated with the growth, but you also are creating a market of new consumers who can support our local merchants. And you're also creating housing so that workers who want to live in town, people who work for our businesses, can find affordable alternatives. It's really important to have a range of different housing options. And that's good economically for the employers and for the employees. And then finally, there are diversity benefits. And what I mean when I say that is that when we have this diversity of housing types, then members of different socioeconomic groups, members of different age groups can afford to find housing that will work for them in Princeton. And it's just a real benefit to all of us to maintain our diversity. That's one of the things that's most attracted me to Princeton over the years. We're in danger of losing it by becoming a golden ghetto unless we do this kind of smart growth.
Thank you. Staying along things related to growth, and this question will start with Dina. What can we do to improve public transportation? And can you provide specifics about what you'd like to see and what is realistic?
Well, yes, actually, when I started looking into running for council and over the past few years, one of the things that has been on my mind is the fact that we don't have a public transportation system that operates well. And then once I realized where the new housing was going to go, which a majority of it will be in the shopping center, Littlebrook area, I started to think about the fact that these people need to be able to, all of us, not just these people, myself included, being an ex-New Yorker, I welcome a public transportation system that works. So what did I do about that? I went and met with Princeton University because one of the things that I realized was we need to work together. They seem to have an elaborate bus system that seems to move their people around very, very well. And in my conversations with the head of public transportation, I learned things like they have a bus that goes out to Target and to Trader Joe's for their people, so for their students and their faculty. So I started talking to Kim about whether we could extend those lines. And my vision for Princeton would be a public transportation system that operates frequently, like every 15 minutes, takes people out to the bus, out to the train station. If we're going to put many apartments in this area of the shopping center, we need to make sure those people can get around, because I don't think it's realistic to add 500 cars to the area. I happen to live in Littlebrook. I think that would be very difficult. So those are the specifics, and I think that we can do it efficiently and effectively and get us all to be using more public transportation as other communities have done successfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is David.
Thank you. So I agree with a lot of what Dina was saying. I was also at the showcase at the university where they were talking about their planning efforts around their transit system. Unfortunately, it seems like they're going in a direction of constricting their routes rather than expanding them. And they're doing it for good reason, because they know that a good, robust transit system has to run frequently. And the further their routes extend, the harder it is to have frequent service to each location, and therefore increasing ridership. So while it's important that we promote the fact that Tiger Transit is available to any member of Princeton at no charge, and we should help those people be aware of the availability of Tiger Transit. And actually, our transit task force has put out a map this year showing all of the routes of all kinds of transit available in town currently: Tiger Transit, Freebie, the New Jersey Transit bus lines, and showing how to connect from one to the other so that we get a really efficient system. But the other thing I think we just have to focus on is we have to have more frequent Freebie service. We've seen an increase in ridership over the last year, but if it's over an hour wait and you have to know when the bus is coming, we need to get the Freebies running every 15 minutes, and we need to invest in new vehicles in order to do that.
Thank you. Next is Leticia.
Thank you, Andrew. So I have given this some thought. I know it's something that also the Economic Development Committee has discussed as far as new businesses coming into town, that we may consider waiving some of the parking requirements and allow those businesses to pay into a fund, a transportation fund possibly, that could fund some of this to extend some of these transportation, for example, as the Freebie, which we already know it's going to be, those buses are going to need to be replaced. And as far as I'm all in favor of public-private partnerships, including with the university. For example, I know they already stepped up when the hospital moved out of Princeton, and we needed to ensure that our residents, especially those who are most vulnerable and may not have access, may not drive, that they could still access the hospital. So that's when the university made the Tiger Transit available to members of our community. So we need to explore more of that, of the public-private partnerships to extend the transportation that's available. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to public education. We have a question that says, the three greatest challenges many of our children and their families face are food insecurity, not feeling welcome in our community, and inadequate and unequal opportunities for early childhood development, resulting in a significant achievement gap before the children get to the public schools. Despite the efforts of our town, our schools, many wonderful nonprofits, and hundreds of dedicated residents, these problems persist. What specific steps, if any, can the council take to meaningfully address these ongoing challenges? And first up will be David.
Thanks, Andrew. It's a tough question because governance of our schools is by the school board, and the council does not have a lot of input into the decisions that they make. I think we all have the same goals. The collaboration between the schools and the community can be improved in terms of our planning. And we've really taken into consideration the schools as we've been developing our affordable housing plan. So I'm going to focus on that a little bit because we wanted to ease the pressure on the schools for growth by making sure that we were not adding an overwhelming number of school children in a very fast or short time frame. So we put a plan together that included some senior housing, which obviously does not include school children. We included some 100% affordable projects where we were contributing school children for sure, but not as many as you would have if you had an inclusionary project where you have, for every affordable unit, you have 4 market rate units that accompany those affordable units. So we tried to strike a balance and have some of 100% affordable projects and some inclusionary projects. And I think that at least in my interactions with members of the school board after the plan came out, they're pretty pleased with how the plan will temper the rate of growth and allow them to respond in an orderly way with their facilities and serve our students the best way possible.
Thank you. The next candidate to answer this question is Leticia.
Thank you. I will echo what David said, but I will also add to that it's not just our students that are in the public schools. There's also many in our community, including families whose children are not yet in the public school, whose needs we also need to address. I'm very proud of the fact that I was many years ago when Send Hunger Packing was first founded, I took part in that because I saw, I was very aware of the need firsthand. And I don't have time to go into that, but let me just say that, especially with the current situation, I would not dismiss our community partners who are stepping up to help our families, including Send Hunger Packing and Share My Meals, who's a more recent organization that was just established to address food insecurity. But including now with the coronavirus pandemic that we are all having to come together, we have many community partners that are coming together to address the needs of all of our residents. So, but certainly there's more that we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Dina.
So I think that this goes back to a key part of my campaign, which is transparency. And when I was at John Witherspoon and Littlebrook, I took both schools paperless for the first time. I made sure that information got pushed out to the parents and the families and the children so that people could participate. And when you bring up the comment of not feeling welcome, I think, that's not a very good thing for our community to have that sentiment. I worked very hard at John Witherspoon. I translated all of our communications into 2 different languages, Spanish and Chinese for starters. I tried to make sure that the families could come to different events by having people help me with those languages. I speak a little Spanish, I speak French, but I don't speak any Chinese. And so that increased the involvement of the families, and that really helped. I think that one thing we have to be careful of with the schools is overcrowding. Most people moved here for the schools. I know that I'm a big supporter of the Princeton Public Schools. And I think that as we do our housing plans going forward, we have to also be fair because, for instance, at the Thanet project, where yes, we are building 80 senior living homes, we've cut a deal that entire project, the project part that's created or going to be built by Avalon, gets a pilot. So they're not going to give any money toward the schools, yet that we are hearing that there are 80 some odd children that are going to be added. So I think we have to be careful as we manage our growth so that we do have an ability to keep our schools welcoming and not overcrowded. Thank you.
Thank you. We have several questions about inclusiveness and welcomeness in the community. So I'd like to start with probing a little bit around that. So the first question, and this will go to Leticia first, is specifically, how can we improve race relations in Princeton?
I can tell you that as liaison to the Civil Rights Commission and Human Services is something that we work on a day-to-day basis. And that is having conversations, that is being very cognizant of what our words, what we say, because I can tell you, I personally have experienced it and have also actually kept asking myself whether I'm being overly sensitive. But I can tell you that if somebody else was experiencing it, including my children, it's not something that I would want them to go through. Sometimes we say things that we don't realize how they're coming across, that they may be, there is such a thing such as implicit bias, including in Princeton. Our Princeton, which is so diverse, so progressive, but it still happens here. So we need to continue, it's something that we need to continue working on, including starting with our children. I'm liaison to the Youth Advisory Committee, and it's a committee that I'm very proud of, our youth who are also aware and takes leadership roles in ensuring that their peers are well aware of current situations, but also talking about what we need to do to make ours a better community. Thank you. I know my time's up.
Thank you. Same question to Dina.
So I think that it's very important that we work on race relations. I think it's very important that we include all parts of our community in our government. One of the things that I would like to do is expand out in terms of committees to make sure that all parts of our different neighborhoods are represented on the different committees. And I know that some of that might mean that perhaps we can't have meetings during the day or at night. Maybe we have to throw in a weekend so that the people that are working full time can participate. you know, for me, I happen to be Jewish. I know that back a few years ago, we had a lot of anti-Semitism running through the middle school. And so I reached out to Jason Burr and I said, you know, it's time for us to help our children be educated. Punishing them for some of this doesn't really teach them. It just makes them upset. So I created a program where I brought Ilsa Loeb, who's a Holocaust survivor, to the 7th grade for about 4 or 5 years. And she came in and she spoke to the 7th grade each year, describing her story. And it was incredibly impactful for all those children. And that was an example of how I would do something when I see a problem, is I come up with a solution. I'm a big believer, don't come with a complaint, come with a solution. And that's how I handled that situation. And I would try to do the same to increase and improve and balance all the different parts of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally to David.
So I've been taking part pretty regularly in the first Monday of the month meetings that NIOD holds, the Not in Our Town, Princeton. It's a really good opportunity for dialogue. Every one of their meetings, they'll have a presentation of one kind or another, talking about some aspect of bias and discrimination, but they will always break out into small group discussions with about 8 people in a group, and each of those discussions is facilitated by a member of the board of Not in Our Town. And I think that some of the most fruitful conversations that I've had have been at those evenings. And that basically just leads me to the conclusion that in order to make everyone feel included and valued, we have to be in the same room with each other, and we have to be in open conversation with each other. In some of my campaign lit, I quoted a Jewish proverb that says, "Who is wise? He that learns from every person." And I just want to emphasize that the value of diversity is not something that we do to benefit others, to benefit the disadvantaged. It's actually something we do to benefit ourselves, because it gives us the opportunity to learn from other people. And I've learned an incredible amount since the time I've been on council, working with members of the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood, working with the folks who work with WALDEF, and we just have to be creating more opportunities for that kind of respectful interaction, and at all ages too. I mean, it's great that it's happening with adults, but in our schools and even younger ages than that. In order to do that, we need to keep our neighborhoods diverse.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. The next question is we'll start with Dina, and we're going to stick with our theme of inclusiveness. Given the current administration and policies that have been coming out of the White House, a crisis at the border that includes family separations and diminishing paths to citizenship, and a lack of fair treatment and inclusion in the American dream, what are you willing to do to help our immigrant community?
So like many of us on this video conference, and I'm sure beyond this online system, I find it appalling what's happening at our borders. What made this country great was that we came here as immigrants at some point, or most of us did, probably a large percentage of us did. So I think that this just continues on a theme about communication and inclusiveness here in our community. We have the Pinnell Center that does a significant amount of work with our new residents to this community, many of whom don't speak English. I think getting the word out about what all of our programs are for these people, for all of our residents that take advantage of what we have, is very important. I think making sure that messages can be pushed out to communities where new residents live would be very, very helpful. And I think that we can do that through better communication for all of our residents. I know that many people don't even know the Pinnell Center, what the Pinnell Center does. And I've been working diligently with my children who have something to collect for that center. And it's amazing the number of residents of Princeton that haven't even heard about it. So that's one area. And then just continue to strengthen the basis of communication so that people feel like they can come forward and aren't afraid and know that this is a safe place for them to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, David.
So the town has already done a lot of good stuff over the last few years. Before I even got on council, we adopted a policy as a welcoming community, which has a lot of different implications, but probably most importantly, the police department understood the importance of good relations with the immigrant community. And so essentially established a policy not to cooperate with ICE or with federal immigration enforcement actions, to try and make people feel more welcome and ready to come to the police if there were problems in the community. So that's one thing. We also passed legislation in town to stop wage theft, which is something that most most problematically affects that community. We have day laborers who get picked up by landscapers, out in front of the bodega on Witherspoon Street. They work a long, hard day, and then prior to this legislation in town, they never knew for sure whether they were going to get paid at the end of the day. So that's been really important as well. And then we supported the state effort to get driver's licenses. I know Leticia would have talked about this if I hadn't, but my wonderful wife, Liz, was very involved in that effort. So I'm giving her a little bit of a shout out. But that's so important for these members of these communities so that they can get to their jobs and live a full and fruitful life. So there's a lot of good that's been done. The Bicycle Advisory Committee has actually been doing some work to try and make sure that people in this community have reflective vests and lights for their bicycles so they can get safely to and from work even after dark, because that's the way a lot of them have, that's the only way they could communicate, could get around in the past. But I think my time's up, so I'm gonna stop there.
Thank you. Next is Leticia.
Thank you. And thank you, David, for mentioning what the municipality is already doing. So it can give me time to talk about other things that we've been working on and what we can do moving forward. I know it's very frustrating given what this administration and what's been happening as far as attacking policies that attack our immigrant community. I'm very proud to say that when I was just a member of Human Services Commission, I took part in the drafting of the police directive that would direct our officers would not be doing the job of ICE. Instead, that we were going to work on building trust in our community. Also, as a member of, at the time, I was chairing LALDEF, and we, along with Bill Wakefield, we brought the community ID to Princeton to ensure that our immigrant community members would not be used as a walking ATM, which was happening, because it was known that they generally would carry cash on payday. So they were being singled out and mugged and robbed of their work, their money, because it was known that they could not use a bank account. But when we brought the community ID, which is actually issued from the public library every Thursday from 12 to 2 and from 5 to 7, members of the immigrant community are able to get a community ID, which they can use not only to open up a bank account, they can use it when they enroll their children in school, and they can also use it to access medical services. So it's something that I am very proud of, but we're not limited. We may be restricted at what we can do at the federal level, but there's much that we can do at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I want to move on to affordability. There have been a variety of questions around affordability, specifically around taxes and housing. Can each of you, and David, we'll start with you, can each of you address specific strategies that you believe council should take on when it comes to affordability so that Princeton can be a place that is inclusive for all when it comes to the cost of living?
Sure. So as I made allusion to earlier, smart growth, part of what it does is to create a diversity of housing types. So right now, Princeton is really lopsided in terms of having single family housing. We don't have a lot of options for condominiums or rental housing, which can be more affordable for that missing middle that Dina referred to early on. So I think that it's really important that we are encouraging that diversity of housing types so that there's always something out there at a price point for the different individuals who are looking to live in Princeton. In addition to our affordable housing plan itself, we're looking at encouraging the construction of accessory dwelling units in town. This is an initiative that's just getting started now with the same planner who helped us develop the neighborhood character, the form-based code, which is helping to preserve the character of our individual neighborhoods. And we're taking it to the next step by looking at how to add sort of mother-in-law apartments or those kinds of secondary rental units to existing single-family houses. And that is something that a lot of other cities are doing to try and provide, again, that diversity of types of housing. In terms of taxes, I think that's a lot harder not to crack. I think that the state relies too much on property taxes to fund our schools and to fund the other things that are going on. And Andrew Zwicker, I'm looking at you to help us to rebalance that a little bit, and whether it's with sales tax or income tax to, sorry, my wife's talking in the background. But I think that in a lot of ways that's the solution to the incredibly high property taxes we have right now, because the municipality is really doing a good job of trying to be responsible with our expenses. I think the schools are as well, and we just need to not rely so much on property taxes, because that penalizes everybody in a town like this that has high property values.
Thank you. Next up is Letitia.
Thank you. I will echo what David said as far as the need for more accessory dwelling units and also family units to address the needs of the missing middle. But also, as far as keeping property taxes down, the only way that we're going to be able to do that, as far as I know, is to look into more opportunities for public-private partnerships and thus in the services that we're providing for our community. And also take a look at what we're getting in return for our contribution towards the county taxes. I understand, I'm not exactly sure that, I know we were given a briefing on it, but it seems that we contribute more, in my opinion, I don't know if everybody shares the same, that we contribute more than what we're getting in return. So I would like to make sure that we're looking at that closely and see where we can find cost savings, but also at the same time providing housing opportunities for those in the middle. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, same question to Dina.
So this is another one of the reasons that I'm running is that I bring a business background to this question and issue. And of course, we need to look at all of the residents of Princeton uh, because even on Monday, the council voted to increase our taxes. And we need to figure out a way to slow this or to change our formula. I do agree we need to work with our state legislators. And we need to, and our county executives to figure out a way that Princeton can stay affordable for all members of Princeton, because we have a lot of housing that we need to build, which is terrific and will diversify our town. But as I brought up earlier, this missing middle piece is something that I'm asked about by many, many, many constituents, by them saying to me, well, that's great that you're going to build affordable housing, but what about when I outgrow it, which happens as you become more successful? And so I have questions. Andrew, you can answer this, or we won't talk about this on this call, but how do we make that middle part? How do we build rent stabilized apartments above the affordable housing level? And how do we make that, maybe that can be a way that can count toward our affordable housing for a community like Princeton, because we are unique and we have a huge diversity in this town that it makes us robust and makes us vibrant and makes it wonderful for all of us to live here. But we can't keep raising taxes the way we are, or we will be squeezing out more people than we think. So I would like to work with the state and local officials, the Mercer County people, and I'd like to look at our budget. I'd like to figure out a way not to have any excessive spending from our town right now. And yes, working with the schools is imperative as part of that, so that they can continue to be the robust education system that they are. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one last question. After that question, we'll move to closing statements. So this last question has to do with open space. What are your views about preserving additional open space in Princeton for climate resiliency and other purposes? And with the order, Letitia, you're up first.
I am in favor of creating more open space, but I would also like to see, to ensure that those spaces are available to our residents, whether walking trails, which I know many of our open spaces have that, but even I know there's a task force right now working on the possibility of establishing a dog park. And it would be great if we can find a space for that. But as far as ensuring that we do our part for the environment, definitely I would like to ensure that we preserve those open spaces, but also, again, make them accessible to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dina.
Well, I do think that open spaces are very important. And one of the questions I have as we expand is to make sure that we do preserve it. I'm very much a large supporter of them. I walk in them all the time. I've spent a bunch of time in Herrontown over the past few years and cherish it greatly, and have been a big supporter of Steve's efforts to grow it, maintain it, and keep it wonderful. And I was very happy the council supported the funding, or some funding, toward the Veblen House. This is an important part of our planning. And when we go back to taking a look 10 years out and thinking about what our community is going to look like, I think we do have to look at the open spaces. I think it's important that we plan, that we are thinking about how all of these component pieces fit together, so that we don't wake up in 10 years and say, oops, we didn't think about this. It's very important for people to get outside. It's very important for children to have a place to play. As we add many new homes to our community and bring all sorts of wonderful new residents, they will need places to go. So I'm a big supporter of it. And if that's something we work on the county level and the state level, I look forward to working with all of the parts of council and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, David.
I'm really glad this question was asked because it gives me a chance to sort of correct a common misapprehension about smart growth. Some people think, oh, smart growth, you're in favor of, turning Princeton into a city with no green space. But the reality is, given the definition that I used earlier, you're building where you have existing construction already. That means that you're avoiding sprawl. And that, in fact, smart growth is what allows you to preserve open space. And it's so important from a sustainability perspective. Having worked on the climate action plan, preparation of that over the last couple of years, I know that our natural resource inventory was a critical part of preserving our natural resource inventory was a critical part of our climate action plan because our open space sequesters a lot of carbon, basically. I mean, it's so important. And it also is where our stormwater goes when we have heavy rainstorms. So in terms of our resiliency, we would be sunk literally if we didn't have open space to create capacity to deal with our stormwater, which, by the way, is increasing with climate change on a yearly level. We've seen an enormous increase over the last 50 or 60 years, about a 70% increase in the frequency of high volume rain events. So it's critical. We have an open space tax that the voters of Princeton agreed to impose on themselves years ago. And we need to be using that money to acquire any sensitive property that becomes available.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for all of these questions. There are many more that could be asked, but given that the hour is now up, I'd like to move on to closing statements. Each of you will have 3 minutes for your closing statement. And first up will be Dina Shaw.
So I want to thank the PCDO for having this forum, and a special thank you to Bill Schofield and Jean Durbin for figuring out how to take us live to continue our democratic process. It has been a labor of love and work, and thank you. So transparency, accountability, communication, fiscal responsibility, planning and thinking ahead. These are the elements I will bring to the Princeton Council. We all need to work together for all taxpayers and constituents to keep Princeton the oasis we love. I brought both Littlebrook and John Witherspoon into the 21st century by taking them paperless. I changed the way those schools communicated with families. I made sure parents knew what was going on in the schools. Oh, sorry, did someone just call me? I'm sorry. They're called in the schools. I made sure all kids and families were represented by translating our newsletters into multiple languages. We need to think about our merchants and how to include them in the future of our town. How will we make Princeton an economic hub for stores and businesses? I have ideas and have proven that I can get ideas implemented. I've already suggested that we add a family-friendly facility like a bowling alley. And from this one suggestion that I made, the Economic Development Committee held a special meeting to discuss redistricting to make this a possibility. As our town grows, we need to think about new and sustainable ways to move people around. I've already met with Princeton, as I mentioned, and started talking about looking at our existing transit system and how we can partner together with our growth. We must work closely with the school board to ensure decisions that are made do not adversely impact the schools. Our schools are full. We must plan wisely. We need to work with the university and state legislators to help advocate for Princeton. Transparency, accountability, communication, fiscal responsibility, planning and thinking ahead. These are the components of my candidacy. I'm here to work for Princeton, all of Princeton. I have a proven track record of success, seeing a problem, making a plan, and finding a solution, bringing in all parties and making things happen. I hope to be able to do that as part of the Princeton Council, and thank you.
Thank you. Next for a closing statement, David Cohen.
Thanks. And I want to echo Dina's thanks to Bill Schofield and to Jean Durbin. I shudder to think how little sleep the two of them have gotten over the last 48 hours, trying to make sure that this novel setting for our endorsement meeting was going to work. So thank you. My reason for really urgently wanting to continue on council has to do with implementation of the climate action plan. Seeing the enormous contribution of dozens, scores of members of our community, experts in all different aspects of how the community can prepare for, as well as try to mitigate our contribution to climate change, has been really inspiring. But the work has only begun. We have a plan now. We have to start implementing it. And I think my familiarity with that plan, having been the council liaison to the steering committee, will be really useful and necessary for the municipality to put in place the policies that are called for in the climate action plan, as well as helping our businesses, our institutions, and our residents hold up their end of the bargain as well, because the plan calls for action from all those different players. I want to talk for just a couple minutes about the response to the coronavirus, the municipal response so far, because it really relates to the climate action plan. There is an initiative that I've been working on since I first came on council called the Neighborhood Buddy Initiative, which is neighbors helping neighbors attempt to be ready for climate change emergencies, whether it be flooding, which we've already seen, power outages we've already seen. We know that they're going to get worse, and we know that it overwhelms our first responders when these events happen. So having neighbors help each other is an ideal response. Now that we have this coronavirus emergency or crisis, we're seeing the value that the Neighborhood Buddy Initiative can have, where residents can be doing shopping for their elderly neighbors, going to pick up materials from the library, educating them about what they should be doing to be safe when so much of the information about coronavirus is coming over the internet. And the folks who most need to hear it may not even be on the internet. So I wanted to give that a plug and encourage anybody who's listening right now who wants to be involved with the Neighborhood Buddy Initiative, send me an email and I'll make sure that you can get involved. And then lastly, I just want to say that I do want to hear from all the members of our community. I've been hanging out at Blue Bear Cafe on Wednesday mornings from 8 to 9. Everybody is invited to join me there and share your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, a closing statement from Leticia Fraga.
Thank you, Andrew. And I did have a statement prepared, but I think I instead will use my time to address some of the comments and other questions that were made, and starting with the response of our health department to the current crisis with the coronavirus. I want to commend them for doing a wonderful, wonderful job. As our health department staff and public safety has been working nonstop to ensure they are up to date with information and to ensure that whatever information goes out is accurate, that we're not just reacting and we're not creating panic. And it is continuing to be updated. I encourage everyone who wants to know what the current information is to go to the municipal website where it continues to be updated. I just want to say they are doing a great job. I commend them also to our emergency service providers. I know that we don't know what we don't know. And that's what our health department is dealing with. So what information we're getting is what they know. They're not going to be providing information that may not be accurate. So I want to commend them for the work that they're doing. Also, as far as our public schools, I want to say I have children in the high school. I have twins that are currently in the high school. I also have grandchildren. Some of them are at the elementary school and one that's at the middle school. And what I want to say, although we have great public schools, we need to ensure that great private schools. I want to ensure that our public schools are the top choice for all of our families. Because even though I may be able to make sure that if my kids need it, they get tutoring, but not everybody, not every family has that luxury. So we want to ensure that all of our families, all of our kids that are in their public school are getting the education they deserve and access to the same education that everybody else in our community has access to. So we want to ensure that our public schools are the top choice for everyone. That's why we pay the taxes that we do. Also, as far as translation, I think as my colleagues will be able to attest that anytime that there's a policy, anytime that there's something that we're considering, my first question is, can we get that translated? Not just in Spanish, but also in Mandarin and other languages that may be needing in our community. And it's something that we are addressing all the time. I want to also say that I'm immensely proud of all the work that we've been doing, including with our volunteers on our boards, committees and task forces and commissions. But also knowing what I know now after the 2 years, I also understand that there's a lot more that we need to work on. And I hope that I know that together we can do great things. And I hope you will give me that opportunity to continue. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to close before I turn it over to Jean Durbin by saying thank you to each of the candidates for your willingness to serve the community, for your thoughtful answers on a variety of questions tonight, and for your willingness to be open as we respond to the crisis around us, move to an online type of form as we've done. Thank you to Bill for all of his work for putting this together. And thank you again to everybody who is watching live and who will follow up and watch the recording of this. I want to turn it over to Jean for final instructions and any closing words.
Thanks so much, Andrew, and thanks to the candidates and all the viewers. Really appreciate it. If you are a viewer and you have not yet received your ballot, please check your spam filters, your junk filters, your other filters, any filters you can possibly find. Take a look. This should have been taken care of with the test, but just take a look before you email help@princetondems.org if you did not receive your ballot. Voting will be open through 8 p.m. and then we will release the results by email to the membership. And thanks so much. If you like this format, please like the video so that we know. Go to YouTube and like the video. Thanks very much. And I think we're going to end the meeting.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.